Hi, this is your girl, Annette Fletcher, Miss Delaware Classic Universe, here again with our 2024 Wear Your Crown Empowerment Speaker Series. Now, if you've been with us since January, then you know this is about empowering women and girls into purpose. And we do that by hearing phenomenal stories on a plethora of queens, what they do, why they do it, how it's important or why it's important to them, and how we can support them. Today, we have a pleasant, amazing woman who is going to share her journey. How are you, Miss Askins?
I am good. I am good. And I'm so excited to be here with you guys today.
It is such an honor to have you. We spoke a little bit about your journey, but let's introduce yourself first to everyone else. Please introduce yourself.
So, my name is Kendal Askins. I am a mom of four, recently divorced, and I actually am a principal. I also run my own business, so I'm an entrepreneur, and I am working on building that out, stimulating minds, and just learning on growing into my true, authentic self. That's been my journey these past couple of years, especially going through this divorce process. And so I'm excited to be here today to just share this story.
Oh, this is perfect. You said a couple of things that I absolutely love. First of all, a principal.
I
Second of
am.
all, a mother of four. Oh, wait, let's go back to you using one of I am so the past couple of years, moving in authenticity is so super important. And I
Yeah.
totally feel like COVID had something to do with people either being their authentic self or people authentically connecting to people who are being
Yeah.
or moving in purpose or in their authenticity. So I am excited about that. Now, you mentioned a couple of things that you got going on, and I'm excited about all of them. So first, let's talk about your kid. First of all, can y'all agree that this queen looks like she's like 32, 29?
I'll
Like
take
you look
it.
like you're turning back the hands of time, queen. Like I
At
am
least.
loving this. And you said four kids. So four kids and a principal. Let's go there first. How do you
Okay.
balance that?
So, from the time I was young, my mom always really instilled time management, and it's just about routines and building that. So for work, I really am trying to be intentional, and I have been from prior to children intentional about maximizing the time I spend at work. Right, my work hours are my work hours. And
Yes.
while there might be some emergency situations, that you have to deal with outside of those,
Yes.
I really am cognizant of the fact that that's one of, even though it's a career and it's a path I love, it is a job as well. And they
Yes.
get a portion of me during that time frame, right? So I am who
Yes.
I am in that time frame. They get that. But after that time frame, I have to make sure that I put my mom hat on. I have to also make sure I put my hat on to take care of myself, right? So
Yes.
but just to focus on that and being a mom, that's part of how I balance it, is really this idea of being intentional with my time and how I manage the time and how I utilize the time in those spaces. So when I'm with my family as well, that time is uninterrupted in a certain fashion. And this year I've made a goal to try to be more intentional about spending individual time with the children.
Oh,
My children are 13, 11, 9, and 4. And so they're at different stages in their lives, right?
yes.
And they require different parts of me, right? My teenager, she requires a different type of mom right now than what my 4-year-old requires. And
Yes.
so while doing things as a family is so important, and we're very traditional in our family things, they are requiring pieces of me. So I have committed to finding out how to spend individual time with them, and we're making it work in very creative ways. Which, yeah, I might as well share that to give some ideas for people. So, like my 9-year-old, for example, she and I have agreed upon. We stumbled into this one day, but she is my grocery partner, grocery shopper partner. So, like, we make our grocery list for the house. She knows, like, she is the one who goes grocery shopping with me. She is the one when we're low on something or we run out, I'm like, oh, add it to the list. She adds it. She takes pride in that. She sets the family calendar, and that is her and I. She knows that nothing will penetrate that. So I don't go to a grocery store now without her, or if I'm out and I have to pick something up, I'll call the house and say, are you okay if I go to the store without you or whatever? And so it creates something where that's her and I. My oldest, she leaves the house with me. We leave as early as 6:20 in the morning. And so we try to get up a little earlier. We'll get up by like 5:15. And we spend about a half an hour, 3 days a week, just talking. Like, we make some tea and we sit in the meditation room and we just kind of chat and drink our tea and talk about different things. And that's how we get our time in, and nobody else, penetrates that. And my son and my other one, we are navigating exactly what will be special to us. But there are times where my 4-year-old will sit and say, can you watch this show with me? Or can you do this with me? And we can, have some uninterrupted time. So it's just trying to navigate what's important to them and make sure that you just dedicate that in the course of the day.
Right.
In the week, to make sure you continue to build that bond with them as individuals, as the family, and then, who you are career-wise.
That is so awesome. So let's go back to the beginning part of that. Time management and being able to dedicate time to yourself, your career, your children, the family. On top of that, individual attention is super amazing and thoughtful and a great idea, especially as we're moving into 2024 and working with a variety of family styles. But time management would definitely be at the top of that. Okay. So we got the family, we got the career.
Yes.
Well, we got the principal part of the career, but I think we got some other stuff going on or coming up as well. Would you like to share what else you got coming up?
Yeah. So I have always had in my spirit like something large. I've known that I wanted to be in education since I could speak. Literally, since I could speak. I was saying I wanted to be a teacher. I would line up my dolls. They would have nap time. Whatever stage I was in my life is what the dolls experienced, right? So kindergarten, they had run through a kindergarten day, right? Third grade, they ran through what a third grade day looked like. And then when I had siblings, my sisters had no choice. I would force them. They had to play school. They had to line up. They had to listen to the lesson. So I share that I've always known I've been blessed in that manner, in that there was no confusion. There was no me trying to figure out the path. I just had to figure out what I wanted to teach. And that's where my background, I ended up actually getting a scholarship to get into a program to teach math. And so I actually have my degree is in mathematics education. And with that came this passion, not just for educating. I'm very much about educating people, like being lifelong learners and growing, and like how we grow into our best selves.
Yes.
But also understanding how much the academics that children feel like they're just in school because they have to be, like how much that actually plays a role in their everyday lives, not just the money, right? People think math and they go, oh, money or time. But even if you go problem solving, like logic, that's mathematics, right? And how you make decisions, how you differentiate between opinions and facts, how you know if something is true or not, right? All that's mathematical in how you look at the world. And so this program that I went into really unlocked Time 2000 program at Queens College. It's still going to this day, but it unlocked this application of mathematics, like this greater world than just knowing how to solve a problem.
Right.
And with that passion, coupled with my already passion for education, I wanted to be able to broaden my reach somehow to just making sure that children were having that experience. So as a educator in the classroom, I was able to do it. That is one of the reasons why I realized as I was doing that I could have an exponential effect if I became an administrator, because then I could be impacting all the teachers who are
Yes.
impacting all the students, right? So it
Right.
wouldn't be students that had me, but all of these students, it would be on this higher level. But then that coupled with this other passion, I decided to start my business. My business has 3 components. So there's the tutoring, which is the most organic, right? Obviously, there's always people always looking for math tutors.
Yes.
But I now have people, it's STEMulating Minds. So my STEMulators, which are what people know as tutors, they are not just mathematics based. So I have an engineer on staff, a project manager, someone who does science, right? And these people, while they can help tutor in subjects, we try to put together also courses where we can get children to have experiences with professionals in the field, right? And these applications, and just have these organic experiences. So we have that. I've done some public speaking things where, I've spoken to different things, whether it's workshops, whether I've spoken to teachers, I've delivered lessons, getting teachers to think about lessons in different manners to children. I've done programming with NYU in terms of there's an organization called NSBE. It was a NSBE Junior chapter where I delivered all of the STEM curriculum. So that's the other component, the public speaking. And then the last component is this component of partnering with schools to really look at STEM education, not as another thing, but how it embeds and it's an application into everyday lives, and how to get teachers to shift their mindset in how they are delivering the material so that students are having an experience that they see as valuable and not just like, I'm here just to do this thing and I don't understand how to use it. So with that, this year I have written a book that I'm in the process of editing and publishing that speaks to a personal journey on growing and authenticity. But I'm also looking to launch some affordable tutoring. I am looking to get some grants so that I can provide services for families and for people that the children need it, but maybe they cannot afford, the private tutoring, looking to get some funding to partner with schools on a larger level to bring in some of these ideas and just really expand out what this is. And it's STEMulating Minds because it's STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, and we are, stimulating your minds into this lifelong learning, right? And how we're taking what we're doing and really having people understand that this is a lifelong journey. It's not moments in time.
Oh my God. I'm just to let you know, like if I could scream and not impede what you are saying right now, like this is so awesome. Like this is super ideal. Like this needs to be in like policy, this way of thinking and processing, especially for our kids. It needs to be a part of policy and education. Like in my head, I'm like, "Ooh, who can we connect her to that's in the Department of Education to say, you know what, this needs to be in our education system. Like we should not be just teaching our kids just so that they have information, but it can be applicable information that's tied into what's like what could potentially be happening with them and meeting them where they are, so that we're not just feeding them this random information that doesn't even apply to them or that's never going to be used or applicable to something that they're going into. But if we're using people in the industry to educate, to support, and to use applicable like scenarios, then like that connects them to the mathematics of what's happening in life. And you're right, my girlfriend Carla will absolutely love you. The fact that you connected math to so much of what happens in life. She has a tattoo like on her wrist about how important math is. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, girl, use this math. We are not friends. Like math has never been my strong point, but you are correct in that it is tied into everything. If you're looking at putting together an event, you have to think about the square footage of the room, how many people can fit into the room, how many tables, how many people can fit at each table. That ties into the number of people that you have in the room. So you're doing math all the time. You're just not calling it math, right?
Yep. Yep.
So,
And it depends. And it's nothing you can do. It's the same thing when you think about ELA, right? There's nothing you can do that's not going to involve some form of reading or writing. And there's nothing you're going to be able to do that's not going to involve some form of mathematics. There are different categories of it, and it is not just in your face. And so it's just, and it pulls back the layers, right? Because part of what the mission is around cultivating lifelong learners, but it's also around breaking down these stereotypes of being good or not good at something, right? Understanding
yes.
the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset, and getting and breaking down this barrier of being afraid of the math, or it being like, oh, if you do math, you must be really smart. And if you don't, what does that mean, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
just that I've tapped into understanding or how my brain works, it makes sense to me in that manner, but it doesn't mean that it can't make sense to you. And when I was in the classroom, it really was about unlocking that for students, right? My
Yes.
students had a lot of success, even students that thought they weren't good at it. When they left my class, there was a different thought, because they understood, oh, it was how it was unlocked for me. So if somebody can unlock it in a manner that it makes sense, and I tell my students all the time, it's not magic. We often think it's magical because
Yes.
we don't understand it, but it's not magic. It's very logical. So if it is not making sense to you, ask your questions, because the moment it makes sense to you, the light bulb will go off. And I guarantee you, anybody that says they struggle in mathematics is because it didn't make sense. The moment it makes sense, all of a sudden they feel that they're good at it, because now you understand it. And so that's how I tie everything from the business with the self-development to the mathematics to how I am being authentically. It is literally a mathematics mindset in understanding what is happening in this experience, unpacking it, growing from it, and then being able to move forward.
That is so, I'm like cheesing because I'm like that's like when you hit like when you get into those teachable moments and you
Yep.
see that light bulb going off and they're like, oh, I got it. And then they
Yep.
start explaining to you how it works. You're like, yes. And they're like, so that means I can do it. You're like, yes. And they're like, the power that they get when you see
Yeah.
that light bulb go off, it is like the best energy feeling like in the world, especially for an educator. Now, okay, so two things. One, my sister queen Jacqueline Means and my sister from college, my LS, Connie Mitchell, they are both also STEM queens. So when I hear them speak, I'm always like, so I'm like listening to you, and I'm like, yes, oh my God, I love this. Like y'all should be on like a panel talking to the Department of Education about how easy we can make this applicable for our kids, how
Yes.
we can tie into life skills, life learning, and how we can make it fun. Because I feel like all of y'all are saying the same thing. Like we have to connect it to where they are now. Like
And
and
the
give
kids
them
want
those.
it. The kids want it and they're craving it. The stumbling block is that the teachers are not necessarily trained in that manner,
Mm,
right? So when you're taking a field that has prestige tied to it, and this idea that they have all the knowledge, right? It is a shift in the mindset to be able to say, we're going to explore, because exploring would be implying that I don't have all the answers, right? And so that is very scary for many educators because they have been conditioned to believe that they need to have all the answers in order to educate. And it
Yes.
is a complete shift in the system, in the thought process. This could be a whole nother conversation when we're talking about
Yes, it totally is. This is like I'm like writing down notes as you're like talking, right? Because this is sort of like what they do in Japan. Like they mix the grades at some point. Well, you have your individual grades and classes, but then they mix them and they have them do some workshops or some projects like that, like making rice, making noodles, and they make it fun because they're working with there are some first graders, kindergartners, grade one in each group that are working on these things. So you have that cross support, that cross education, that cross knowledge, and they're being supportive of this level of learning, which is what it sounds like you're like saying. And the fact that you keep saying now I hear the educator in you. So I'm like loving this. And then I hear you addressing the concerns of teachers and then going back to how important it is to have educators. Please tell me, what is the difference? And I heard you say it already, but I just want to be clear because I say it and people don't always get it, right? So what is the difference between a teacher and an educator?
Yeah, it's so great that you asked that question because I often refer to myself as an educator, right? I used to refer to myself as a teacher, and I refer as an educator. And I think educator is we maximize the opportunity to show lessons in any situation, right? And also understand that we don't know everything. So while we take our experiences and we're willing to pour them out so that people can either connect to them, learn from them, we also take that in, right? It's like this give and take flow, this ebb and flow of not only information, but experiences and connection that magnify somebody's life essentially, right? Or opportunity.
Yes.
Where a teacher, I would say, is it's more narrow-minded and limited in thinking that they're the ones that carry all of the knowledge and they're pouring it into whatever their student base is. And there's often, with the idea of being a teacher, there's often this hierarchy associated with it, like you've earned a certain level, right? And when you get to this level, you've earned the interaction to look this manner.
Yes.
And when you're educating, you understand that you're also always a student, right? So while you might have some knowledge, there's going to be a lot of situations where you're also going to be learning. And so that's how I would define the difference. And I'm very intentional about using the word educator.
Yes.
I have used teacher because I use that also intentionally regarding maybe a school setting or when I'm in a space where that's what it feels like, that people are just wanting to pour the information. And I am intentional about who I use educator with, because I do see some of that difference.
Yes, that is exactly that. I was talking to someone and I was like, they was like, oh, so you're a teacher. And I'm like, no, I'm an
Right.
educator. And they were like, what's the difference? I was like, I had a teacher that had a sign in our science class. And he said he has two rules. Number one, I'm always right. Number two, when I'm wrong, always refer to number one. I was like, that was a teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, what?
That's a teacher. I was like, an educator, if I don't know, or even if I do know, and you're like, how do we figure this out? Let's figure it out together. How do we figure this out? What can we do? Because that builds that foundation of figuring things out so that we're learning or you're learning and figuring out how to do it when I'm not around, or if there's a substitute that has to come in, you're still able to use those tools to say, okay, I'm not sure about this. Let me figure it out. And it's very Montessori. So, you take some classes when you're teaching, you should be taking classes and workshops when you're teaching. And I took one with Montessori because I'm like, I don't really get it. What is happening over here that, so many people are going to Montessori because I didn't know, right? But I still have mixed feelings about it, but I love that you're meeting kids where they are and you're giving them resources and tools that they need to figure out, how to complete a task and when it works for them. And I'm like, okay, I like that versus forcing, like you have to figure out 1 + 1 is 2. And you should know that 1 + 1 is 2. Look.
Yeah. And I think what you're also articulating, which I think is important to like highlight, is this idea that when you're educating, you're teaching this form of like independence, but also continued curiosity, right?
Yes.
Understanding that you don't have all the answers and understanding that productive struggle is okay and it's important and that learning doesn't feel good all the
And it
time.
not
And you're
even
not
that,
going
it
to
can
get
be
it.
fun. Like
Right.
sometimes
And
trying to
so
figure it out, it's just
yes, if you enjoy
fun.
challenge, like, but some people enjoy that challenge and enjoy that feeling of not knowing, and some people don't. But when you're an educator, you whether they enjoy it or not, you create a space where it's okay,
Yes.
right? Versus when you're teaching, I know that a lot of people in those atmospheres, you feel like you have to know, like you should know this,
Yes.
right? Or it doesn't feel like there's a space for questions. It almost feels like,
Yes.
okay, tell me what to do and I'll just do it. And
Yes.
that environment produces just people that we're trying to teach how to follow directions. It doesn't
Yeah.
produce innovation, right? And so
Right.
just shifting that a little bit, is important to think about.
It is. So we have a couple more minutes left. So I want to know more about this book, when it's coming out, how we can get it, or how we can follow you to see when it is available, or if you can pre-order. How do we find the book?
Yeah, so I would say where I'm on all platforms. So Askins Stemulates, it is ASKINS and then Stemulates STEMULATES. Literally Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. You can follow me on any of those to get updates on those things. And this book honestly takes you through the journey of me being my most authentic self. I had to learn that it's called Loving All of Me, A Journey to True Love, and takes you through the grieving process of how I thought I loved myself. And through this grieving process of a relationship, realized that I did not. And what that failed relationship actually brought me to. And it's such a beautiful story of true love. And, I'm excited to share that. So I thought I was going to share a little bit more about that journey. That's a whole other part of my life that has been so powerful, so powerful. But this part as well, I realized that, as women, we're so layered and so while you hear about some of the roles that I play and the passions that I have and make up a part of me as a woman, this book really takes you through that other piece. And then there'll be some workshops and things that come along with that book to empower women to not only play the roles, mom, wife, job, career, right? Not only play the roles, but how do you play those roles, taking care of your emotional, spiritual, mental health, and showing up, loving yourself truly every day? What does that look like? So that's kind of a little taste of the book there and what's to come with it.
That is awesome. And you know what? We're gonna have to, I have to. So we're gonna have to do one. I think we're gonna have to do a book series, like an empowerment series with our authors, because there are so many phenomenal female authors that are writing amazing books that
Yeah.
all of our women need to have. So the information about the book is below. How to follow, like, share her is also below. Make sure you check her out. So I want to thank you so much. There is so much I still want to unpack, but we don't want to overload them. We want them to go and follow you and be like,
Yeah.
oh, that was a lot. Yeah, there's so much more that we were going to talk about, you guys. But y'all know how I am about education. And she was just like, I'm an educator and this. And I was like, oh, I hate this love for education and our kids. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything you want to say to the women and girls who are listening as we depart at this time?
Yeah, ladies, I would say that I often didn't think that one person just doing what they do and having the passion could really make the difference. But what I've learned and what I've begun to walk in is that one person can make a difference, and that person is you, right? And if all of us, if every single person walked in that energy, that what I'm doing every day, these choices and this passion that I'm living in is going to impact the world more than I'll ever know, we would change, everything. So walk in who you are, in your purpose, sit in that comfortably, love yourself completely, and keep making a difference.
Thank you so much.